Time for Thinking Real Estate. Our final show on a Thursday.
On a
Yeah,
Thursday.
the final show.
Yeah, I mean, I bet people were holding their breath as you said that.
Driving into ditches.
Yeah, right,
yeah,
right.
I have no doubt about that.
Absolutely flabbergasted, astounded.
We're moving to Mondays.
Monday, and we'll start this Monday.
Yeah, so
Same time, 9:30.
they'll have us within a
Hours.
shorter period of time.
Hours.
How lucky could our audience be? So Monday, 9:30ish.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you put that
Ish,
ISH
ish.
on the end.
Yeah, depending upon what time Laura arrives at the
Yes.
station.
Yes.
That's correct.
It's a long drive out here.
No. This is
How did
She-
this
she's
station end
joking.
out in the middle of
She's
nowhere, by the way?
Strategically placed antennae. Am I
Is this the
correct?
highest point?
Yeah.
Do you remember when they were downtown, right
On Kibbe
right
Road?
down from Jackson High? On Wildwood.
no.
Not on Wildwood, on Wildwood.
I don't remember that.
Okay.
I don't remember
Well,
that.
you are a youngster, so.
I remember Kibbe Road, right? Weren't they on Kibbe Road?
Well,
Or was that a different?
that was WIBM,
Oh, was that
and
part
now
of all
that's just to your right,
It's similar to
about 30 feet.
It's similar to WKHM. It's radio.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Very much
Well,
so.
think time changes.
it does.
Just
Yeah.
a little bit.
So let's get on to something before business today.
Oh yeah,
because-
Bill's
But
competitive.
we
My
are, I
husband-
want everybody to know we're back Monday,
Monday,
Yeah, this coming Monday.
not on
Around-
Thursdays anymore. This is our
Around
last
nine-
Thursday.
around 9:30.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
I hope I bet that will draw.
I'm looking forward to that.
I think that will draw more
Kind of a
listeners.
revived show.
Yes.
Does it need
New and-
reviving?
Well,
New and
Wait,
improved.
does it need rehabilitating? Does it need renovation?
New
does
day.
it need
New day.
an overhaul?
New
does
day.
it need new decorating?
It's a new
At
day.
any rate, shout out to all my Starbucks buddies who I couldn't see this morning because I got there early. But I'll tell you what, I'm in the Amazing Race this year. My wife talked me into doing it, and
I
my
don't
partner,
think I talked
hold
you
on.
into it.
Okay, stop. My partner is Alexandra Cash, a gorgeous young woman who asked me to participate as her partner in this thing. So I graciously
And I said,
accepted.
why? I said, why would she pick you, Bill?
Because at any rate, so what I want people to, we're looking for sponsors, and there are a variety of sponsorships, and I talked to Tony Mira from Anesthesia Billing Consultants this morning about the possibility, Rick Hitt and his company, and a variety of others that I'm talking to. But if anybody out there who's listening who either wants to sponsor, and there are a variety of sponsorships, not for the Amazing Race. I want this for my team. This will be for Cash.
But they'll get-
This will be for Cash and Schlechte. They got to mention that name when they call this number. It's 782-7011.
That's
Get
a
that?
shameless
782.
Well, he gets
of course, I get
points.
points for this.
Oh, good.
782-7011.
And it goes for a good cause.
Goes
Well,
for a
I
very good
understand.
cause. All the proceeds go to the Fitness Council. It's a wonderful cause. It's a wonderful event. I haven't participated in it. Last year was the first year. I'm anxious to do it.
There's
But-
nothing easy
But
about
you
this
have to
event.
mention when you call Cash and Schlechte. That
Cash
team.
is easier
Yeah,
to
Cash
say.
is easy. Schlechte maybe not.
I
so
think if
easy.
they say cash, they'll get credit for that. If they
well,
can't
that-
remember Schlechte.
Anyway, so
Or Bill's,
and
or
it's
they
on-
could say Laura's husband.
That's on August 16th, or if you want to volunteer to help out, they need people at the different
And-
stations where the
And
participants
teams
go.
get points for getting volunteers, selling tickets to the after party. I can't believe you didn't even mention
Right, I
that.
forgot about the after party.
And they get points for different levels of sponsorship. And we have only 20 signs left, and a sign sponsorship is $25. And what you get for that is anyway, you could get up to 80 people through your front door simply for an investment of $25.
And
Wow.
personally, I'm looking for an event sponsor because then I get 8 or 10 points or something
Yeah.
like that.
Okay.
So, but
So
any
what's the number
sponsorship would be
again?
great. 782-7011.
Okay.
Right?
Call that number
Call that number. Call it right away.
if you want to.
Yeah.
And I'm impressed.
Operator standing by.
I'm
Yes, indeed.
impressed
There's
he-
a whole bank of operators standing, but they're stars. You got James Franco, Robert De Niro, all these stars.
Are they
that
only people-
volunteered for this.
are they
Just
only
like the-
people with
just-
O's
just
on
like-
the end of them?
Just like the Jerry Lewis Labor Day.
He retired. He must be
I know
running
he did.
this now.
I know, yeah. Right.
Are you
Okay.
answering the phones for us?
No.
No?
No.
All right, okay. So,
Well, I heard Jackie did a interview on 105.3, your sister's station.
Okay.
And I heard them mention that they've had people come in and get business cards already. Because the contestants in the race have to go to these stop sponsors if they want points, or not stop sponsors, I'm sorry, sign sponsors, and get a business card or get something that proves they were here. There are places like Pack and Ship is a sign
thank you for reminding me, I
sponsor.
need to get one while I'm here.
And
Do you have a business card, Greg? I can-
No.
Where do I get
anyhow,
one?
They don't
they have
do
to get, and so
Ask
Pack and
anybody
Ship
else
is
in the
giving
building if they'll have one.
a brochure about their business, anything. It's a great opportunity for business for.
Yeah. For
I saw Pat-
$25?
Yeah, Pat Bethel's doing it, Bethel Lighting, and she said she loves the foot traffic coming in. You know, get somebody through your door that may not have known what you do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna line up a jeweler. If there's a jeweler out there that wants to do
I'll
this,
have Alex
call
go
me.
pick up that card. I won't go there.
Well, do they get a point for each team member that goes in the door?
No, just per
Just
team.
one team. Yeah, I'll have Alex go to the jewelry store. I won't go there.
Anyhow, what are we talking about today?
Well, actually, I thought I'd talk about, I have a case just crossed my desk, and it's really turning into a monster of sorts, where it turns out they did a mortgage survey, not a boundary survey, and the building on the property my client is buying actually encroaches onto the adjoining property by about 1.5 feet. And so that's one issue that's arisen there. Another issue that arose in the title work is there's a mortgage dating back to 1998 that was actually paid off and discharged when the current owner bought the property in like 2003, 2004, but they never bothered to get a discharge of the mortgage, so that shows up. And the lender is NBD, National Bank of Detroit. You know where National Bank of Detroit is these days?
Texas.
Doesn't exist anymore. NBD was merged into, was it Bank One? Yeah, Bank One, but a lot of its mortgage assets were sold off, particularly toxic assets, were sold off to JP Morgan Chase. So I have two
What's
issues.
a toxic asset? Is that one that?
This isn't very good.
Right,
Toxic mortgage with all those mortgages that were written before 2008 where the borrowers really didn't qualify, but the mortgage was written anyway. And the mortgage had a value of 50% or less, or some percentage less than the full amount. At any rate, those were the two issues there, and then I just had another one in which I tried.
I'm looking for title work.
I tried to get an endorsement from the title company ensuring riparian access to North Lake, and at the same time, we had an issue with respect to the number of divisions on the property that my guy was buying, because he wanted to split off a 2-acre piece out of 49 acres for his son to be able to build a residence on it. And all of the divisions had inadvertently been transferred in the original conveyance. It was a 54-acre parcel. The 5 acres that was transferred back in 2001, 2002, they inadvertently put the standard language that the transferee is or gets all divisions available. So we had to work to undo the transaction that happened in
I think in
2001,
transactions
2002.
now they put a blank and you have to fill that in.
Yeah, but it was filled. That's what they did back in 2001, 2002. There was a blank. They filled it in with
Oh.
the standard language, which said the transfer transfers to the transferee all available divisions. So what they did was they transferred all divisions. Who knows how many there are? It's 5 or 6, whatever it may be, whatever the number is on the 54-acre parcel. They transferred it to the 5-acre parcel where they couldn't transfer them and where they couldn't divide it anymore. And that was just error. Somebody made an error, whoever drafted the deed at that time, just erroneously included standard language without thinking about it. But the real issue I wanted to talk about was the encroachment, because people who buy a parcel property, encroachments happen all the time. They're typically fence encroachments, could be an outbuilding, a garage, something like this. This actually happens to be an office building that encroaches onto the adjoining property, the 1.5 feet. And it's
That's
odd.
a big issue, isn't
You just
it?
blow it up?
What's that?
The building.
Blow it up? Now, here's, let me back up a little bit, because most people think that it's worse if somebody else's building encroaches onto your property. That's not the real problem, because if the building next door encroaches onto your property 1.5 feet, the bottom line is, what do you care, right? In other words, your building is completely on your lot, so maybe you've lost 1.5 feet of your property, which is now
Well,
covered by
depends on if
somebody
you
else's
want
building.
Well, it depends on if you want to expand and there's a setback and you're now within 1.5 feet of the setback. You've just taken 1.5 feet off of your,
Yeah, it's not that big a deal.
whatever.
Not, that's not, but
It could be.
what's worse is if your building encroaches onto the adjoining property, because if that property owner does care for whatever reason, then
I
what they
would
do is
care
they
just
make,
so I could get some money then.
well, that's the issue.
Yeah,
So
you're gonna buy that land
So
from
you
me.
try to get, first of all, you're not gonna get that encroachment removed. It's your building that you're buying. So the question now is, what are you gonna do about it? Nobody's gonna remove that encroachment. So you gotta figure out, how long has it been there? If it's been there more than 15 years, we're a step in the right direction, because the 15 years is a statute of limitations.
But if it hasn't been,
If
and
it
then is
hasn't
there a
been,
municipality problem?
I'm not, the municipality problem is a whole different issue. There may or may not be with a municipality. They got a building permit for it, so it's not the municipality's problem, it's the property owner's problem. If it's been there less than 15 years, now you don't have adverse possession. You might have what's called acquiescence, but that might be a stretch. So now you really have to worry about it, because under Michigan law, if that building was put on somebody else's property, if it encroaches the lot, over the line, and the person who built it, the owner who had it built, or the contractor who was the agent for the builder, knew or should have known it was over the property line, the court could order the building removed.
That would be a bad thing.
That would be a very difficult thing. But there's a great case, the Webb case out of Oakland County, where
The house.
the house actually violated the setback, wasn't even an encroachment. Beautiful house, a $1 million plus house that was being constructed. They knew, they were told, they were advised, given notice that it violated the setback. They nevertheless went ahead and built it. Circuit Court said, remove it. The Court of Appeals upheld it. They said, hey, look, you proceeded knowing that it violated the setback, or should
Did
have
they
known it
remove the
violated-
house?
They forced the removal of the house.
The whole removal or just one side of it?
Well, you can't, you ever try to remove one side of a house that's already built?
Couldn't they,
I don't think I've ever
is
built
it
a
normal
house.
though that just money exchange is the answer?
Yeah, you could, if you had enough. In this particular circumstance, the building has been there longer than 15 years. So what we're working to do is get the title insurance company to insure over the encroachment. The title insurance company, we're waiting for the final word, but one way to solve it is to get a quitclaim deed from the adjoining property owner as to the property underlying that building. You pay them some amount of money for it, and that's done. If you can't get the quitclaim deed, if the building's been there longer than 15 years, now you work with a title company to get an affidavit or affidavits dating back from people who are familiar with the property, back longer than the 15 years, who will sign or certify that the building has been there for longer than the 15-year statute of limitations, that it was put there without the permission of the adjoining property owner, etc. And I think I'll be able to get the title insurance company to insure it over. If I can't, now we got a different issue. Now I have to talk to my client, say, are you willing to accept the risk that even though the title insurance company is not going to insure over this encroachment, are you going to accept the risk that nobody farther down the line is going to come in and either claim that that building has to be removed, or that they're going to hit you for compensation for the
What happens, and
land?
I don't know if we talked about this before, but I had one of my constituents call me about a fence issue where in the city, and this is a platted area within the city, one of the neighbors put up a fence and it went up to their garage, but clearly what looks to be the property line is before the garage.
All right, I need to say one other thing too before I leave this building. If a building is constructed across a lot line or violates a setback, and the property owner did it innocently, didn't know about it, or shouldn't have known about it, then we have what's called the innocent mistake rule, where we don't require removal of the building. Instead, the court will determine fair market value for the property that's occupied by the building.
How do you determine if the person made the mistake innocently?
Testimony.
Because
Testimony.
isn't it easier to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission?
Yeah, to beg forgiveness than to ask permission. Of course it is, except that doesn't really work in this context.
Oh, okay.
But I want to make that point before moving on to your issue, which is a fence. Then the testimony becomes, was the fence built as a boundary fence or simply as a confinement fence? In other words, if I build a fence and I don't go up to the property line, but I built it because I have young children
Well,
and I don't want them to go, or I have dogs, I don't want them to go outside the
Well-
fence, that has nothing to do with boundary.
Well, this neighbor had a survey done. The survey shows that the actual property line is 3 feet from what it looks like the property line is. So it's actually, the property line is in the middle of this person's driveway. And the houses were built in the 20s.
Yeah, that's a whole different issue. Happens all the time where people, a platted subdivision was platted back in the teens, 20s, 30s, and they simply took a point here, and then from that they simply drew out a plat without actually putting stakes at each corner of the lot. People ended up building, particularly on lakes, where if the lots were angled, or if they were perpendicular to the road but angled to the lake, you would find the buildings were actually fronted toward the lake, and now they lay across the boundary lines. Matter of fact, I've been through this a number of times where we actually ended up exchanging deeds with several property owners to correct those lines to reflect not what the plat has in it, but rather to reflect what the parties actually did. And our courts are very clear that we look at every case on an ad hoc or a case-by-case basis to determine who did what to whom when and why they did it. Okay? And I can get 2 surveyors too. I've talked about this before, because of the curvature of the earth, all of our lines in the government survey converge to the north, and we correct for that every 24 miles. But before you do the correction, you get what are called gores, these no man's lands between properties. And so I can get, one surveyor will start here at the western edge, and another surveyor will start at the eastern edge, and they'll work toward a central point, but they won't come together because of that gore or because of simply judgments made in the field by the surveyor.
Well, how would one solve that problem then, where the neighbor has a survey, shows that the property line is 3 feet to, let's say, the south, which is actually now in the middle of the driveway, the driveway's been there since 1920, let's say.
Right.
How does the person who owns that driveway, that property, solve this fence issue? The fence is up.
Yeah,
Brand new fence.
I understand. Well, if it's a brand new fence, if it's less than 15 years old, you can end up having because they now put it along the what I'll call the surveyed boundary, but not the historical boundary. Now you have to determine whether or not the survey boundary still has any validity by virtue of the long time use of the adjoining property owners. Again, you have to look at it on a case-by-case basis.
Well, let's assume it doesn't. Let's say
Let's
the
assume it
line
doesn't what?
doesn't have, the long time use is by the visual boundary and not by the survey boundary.
Then
So
you-
she's mowed her,
Mowing, the courts have held mowing is not sufficient. A fence is
She's
evidence of
stacked.
possession. Using it for a property, if you stored things there,
let's
if you
assume
built
that
an
the property's
improvement.
been used,
Yeah.
the garage is there's a 10-foot setback from the property line.
If you
Things have been
exercise
stored there.
possession in the form of occupancy, such as you're asserting title to it, that's adverse possession, and you have to prove all the elements for 15 years. I occupied it under a claim of right without permission of the adjoining property owner, openly and notoriously for a period of 15 years. If it's just a driveway, that's a use, that's an easement by prescription. There I have to show, and also adverse possession has
So,
to be
but the
exclusive.
long and the short of it, I just need a simple answer.
I'm giving it to you.
Okay, we'll have to take a poll here, but with the person where the
No,
boundary,
flagpole won't determine ownership.
the person that has the boundary,
Well-
the new stake in their driveway have to go after the person who put the fence up? I assume that would be the case because they've erected the fence.
No, it
without
depends.
permission.
I mean, some people exercise self-help. If you're confident enough in your boundary, then we see self-help. I've got a zillion stories on people who've exercised
So take
self-help.
the fence
Right?
down.
No. I am
No,
not
I'm just
saying.
saying.
No, I'm
I know
not
you're
saying
not
that.
saying that,
Okay,
but
listen to
is
me.
that what the definition of
Listen
self-help
to me.
is, though?
Self-help is doing self-help is doing something without the benefit of getting a court order first. My advice is always go to court to get
Right.
a declaratory judgment, but you have to look at each case individually. That's what I'm saying, and it's, when you look for an easy answer, I'm giving you the elements of adverse possession and easement by
Well, I
prescription.
just wondered who had to initiate the lawsuit.
It could be either person.
Okay.
It could be either person. So we'll continue this conversation Monday, 9:30, August
Yeah.
11th,
So
right?
new
In the
showtime.
meanwhile, Amazing Race, 782-7011, Cash and Carrie. No, Cash and Schlechte, not Cash and Carrie.
Well, Cash might have to carry you.
Maybe.
Has she
She's
considered
very,
that?
very fit, very athletic.
We'll see you
And-
Monday.
Yeah,
Okay.
780-3800.
Thinking real estate.
Ciao.